Hi everyone, it's Ben Nowak with Do It Molds, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a two-tone bait in two different techniques. The first technique we're going to use is a laminate plate, and the second is using a dual injector. With a laminate plate, it's really nice because you only need a single injector, a specified laminate plate which goes and matches this Yamamoto 5-inch Senko mold, which is really important to note. This laminate plate is specifically made for this mold. If you look at the plate closely, there are venting scores and these match with this mold. Now, not every mold is going to be made with a laminate plate that pairs with it or to be dual injected. Most of them do have this option, but there are certain factors that don't allow you to dual inject or laminate every single bait in the Do It lineup. So when you take a look at the laminate plate, you're gonna notice that there is a female end that is gonna pair up with the male pin on your mold itself. That's how you're going to align this. That's gonna line up the vents to allow the plastic to fill half the mold. So if you look at this mold from the top, you're gonna notice the laminate plate is blocking off half the mold. This is gonna allow for only half of the bait to shoot. So when you end up separating, which I'll show you in a second, you're gonna have half of a bait, and that's how you're gonna create your two-tone with a laminate plate. Our plastisol is already heated to temperature, so I'm gonna use these clamps and I'm gonna clamp my mold and get it ready to inject. We're gonna start with the black. You could choose either color. But these are already up to temperature. They're still liquid, so we're ready to shoot them. I'm gonna draw them up into my single injector. And then shoot it into that mold with the laminate plate and just hold pressure just a little bit. Then I'm gonna top off the sprue hole, the injector port, so that way when it does draw down, it's gonna draw plastic in and you don't end up with a dented bait. So after you shoot, you wanna wait about 30 seconds to a minute to make sure that this plastic is fully set up in the mold. The last thing you wanna have happen is for this to move around or for this to not be fully set up, and when you shoot the other half, you end up with a messed up bait. Now that we've let this cool down just a little bit, I'm gonna show you what it's gonna look like when I remove the laminate plate from the mold. Once I remove the laminate plate, you're gonna notice they have perfect half of a Senko. So now to set up for the second color, you need to remove the runner and the gates, which is this piece right here that connects your baits into the mold. So you're just gonna hold onto the baits, pull that off, and make sure that this is all clean. You don't want any leftover pieces of plastic, and you don't want any baits that are out of place, because that's gonna impact how good your dual tone bait looks. So you wanna close the side without the baits in it, and then set it down and put your clamps back on. Now that the mold's set up, clamped, and ready to go, we're gonna take our second color, which is the sapphire blue. We'll draw it into the single injector. And we're just going to inject as normal. Solid pressure, just to make sure the mold fills completely, and then fill your sprue. And now we wait. Now for the grand reveal. Things are cooled down, so we'll remove the clamps. And look at that. Take off your sprue and runners, and you have a perfect dual tone bait using a laminate plate. So the second process that we're going to talk about is now using your dual injector. Before we start with the dual injection process, I just want to walk through a couple key pieces of information. When you pick up a dual injector, you're going to notice that it has two different cylinders. You're going to put one color in one cylinder and the other in the other. Then you're also going to have a piece here, which is your blending block. This is what allows those two colors to be introduced separately, but at the bottom you have a spout that will introduce both colors into the mold at the exact same time, giving you a perfect two-tone bait. And the biggest piece of advice is to make sure that your plastics are within 10 to 15 degrees of each other. This is going to make sure that they inject the cleanest and there's no swirling or mixing inside of the bait. To introduce the plastic into the cylinders, I'm going to pour it in. This is really important to be careful. You want to be wearing gloves and you want to pour slowly. The reason that I choose to pour the plastic into the cylinders is it's easier than drawing it in from 2 separate measuring cups. Then I'm going to add the nozzles. Your blending block with this piece of metal is going to set on firmly, and then all you have to do is tighten this nut right here and you're ready to go. When you go to dual inject, this mold, you want to have your injector crossways from your mold itself, and then just push down with even pressure. So now, the moment of truth on a dual injected 2-tone bait. And then you end up with a perfect dual injected 2-tone bait. So like we just showed you, 2 different processes, the laminate process, the dual injection process, and you get the same result with both.